Thank you. So we actually did a webinar similar to this a little over a year ago when this feature, admin units and RBAC scoping, first came out for GCC. It was generally available. And today's session is going to be somewhat of a recap, but we're going to dive deeper into the capabilities and some new features that have been added for administrative units and RBAC scoping. A couple of the other reasons we're kind of doing this webinar again is this community that you guys are a part of has now reached almost 600 users, 600 members. So we've grown significantly. There's new features, and this is a scenario, a use case that we're constantly being asked about. We're hearing about these challenges that you're going to see on the next slides, and not only from the central IT perspective, but also from the agencies that are hosted in this shared environment. So we're very excited to bring this information to you. We do have some demos, and we hope you get a lot of value on it. Please feel free to ask questions. And with that, we'll get started. So as we get into this topic, this is a common tenant architecture that we're seeing with our customers. And I can guarantee many of you on the call, you're in this scenario. You're in a shared environment that's hosted by a central IT, and there's agencies within this shared environment. Sometimes we see customers that are in this scenario, 10 agencies, 20, 30, 50. I've seen up to 100 agencies. Well, this architecture, while quite common, it also comes with some challenges. And we see this on the side over here. Agency admins, 9 times out of 10, they don't have access to the tenant to create policies and Purview for things like data loss prevention, sensitivity labels, sensitivity label policies, insider risk management. And typically only central IT, this division or the operations team, they're the only ones that have access to the portal to create policies, including things like creating alerts and viewing reports. At the end of the day, this creates a lot of work, a lot of overhead for central IT, who's already managing things like Exchange Online, SharePoint. There's a number of managed services that they're providing, and now including policies and Purview. So, and this is what we're hearing from customers, specific to like central IT divisions and agencies like the Department of Health, Department of Justice. Just to start here on the left, many times we're hearing central IT say, hey, I heard this today, matter of fact, on a call. We have limited resources. We don't have enough bandwidth to be managing all these agencies, especially when it comes to things like protecting data, securing data, and managing all this data. Many of them would like to delegate this administration to the agencies if they could do this in a way without introducing risk and impacting other agencies. Now, on the other side, from the agency perspective, many times they have their own IT department, their own security team, and they have to put guardrails around regulated data. This could be things like HIPAA data, CGIS data. Now, granted, many times central IT is doing this for them, but there is many that still want to do this on their own, to be able to create their own policies, view their own alerts. And that's why we're doing this webinar, to show you about this, how administrative units and RBAC scoping could benefit both sides of the house. And here's how. Well, administrative units, some of you may know what they are, some of you may not. But these are essentially, they're units that you can create in Entra ID that gives the ability to subdivide the organization into distinct units. And I'm going to show you what this looks like in in a demo. When you segment these units, these users into these different units, well, Microsoft Purview has a feature that allows you to assign specific admins from the agencies to those units. What this does is it solves use cases for not only central IT that's managing the shared environment, this gives them the ability to delegate role-based access controls to specific admins, and they can target policies for their users and their users only. And this benefits the agencies who are in this hosted environment so that they can manage their own data security policies, see their own audit events, and their own dashboards that are related to things like DLP events. So again, this is just more of what I've already mentioned, but this is like a visual of how you can use admin units with RBAC scoping. And we're going to walk through this. So think about these different role-based access control role groups. Information protection admin, there's also an investigator role and an analyst role. Each of these role-based access groups, they have different levels of controls. And think of these as this agency has, each of these are an agency admin with the admin control. They also have SOC team members who have lesser permissions. Now, when you introduce admin units with RBAC scoping, this allows things for like Department of Health, their team with these different levels of controls can manage their users and data loss prevention policies and other Purview solutions that I'll show you on a subsequent slide. Same thing with other departments, other agencies that are in that shared tenant. This is an illustration of what this looks like, an example, if you will. These are the roles, the Purview roles that support admin units. This is another reason why we're doing this recap. Last time we did this webinar over a year ago, the list was about 8 to 10 roles that supported admin units. As you can see, there are now 22 role groups that support admin units. And each one of these are related to a different solution. For example, communication compliance, and then you see these lesser admin groups, global reader, information protection, and the list goes on. These are the Purview solutions that support admin units. Data loss prevention, that's a big one. Sensitivity labeling. Audit will allow agency admins to audit. They can do log searches in the audit log within Purview. And then something that Sergio is going to be diving deep on is insider risk management. Right now, when we did the webinar last year, this wasn't available yet. Well, now it's in preview and commercial and soon coming to GCC. All right, now we're going to get into a demo to see what this looks like from the admin perspective. I'm going to be playing the role as a central IT agency. So think about if you're an agency, who you would go to when you create a ticket, when you want a particular feature enabled or you need an issue resolved. I'm that guy. And then Sergio, he's going to be role playing as an agency admin during his demo. So I'm going to go over here to Entra ID. And within Entra ID, when you go to administrative units, this is where you can create admin units. We've already staged some admin units just to give you a visual of how this could look like in the environment that you're hosted in or that you're hosting. This is obviously an admin unit for DHS, DOR, DOT, and so on. Now, I'm not going to go through all the steps to create this, but I will direct your attention to this webinar, and we're going to be sharing the link in the chat where we went through that step by step. There's also, we also published a blog that we'll be sharing as well, so you can see what that looks like. So once those admin units are created, you can then come to the Purview portal. And within the role groups section, you click on role groups. And as you see, there's a number of role groups in here. And depending on the solution that you want to carve out for those agency admins, you pick the respective role group. I'll just take, for example, insider risk admins, because that's one of the ones we're going to be discussing today. So when I click on insider risk admins and me as the central IT admin, I edit this and I can choose users. I'm just going to choose Patty. Let's just say Patty is an admin, a security admin, or a Office 365 admin for DOH. When I select her and she's populated within this page here, I can click on her name and then assign her to an admin unit. And when I assign her to DOH, I hit select. Now she is an insider risk management admin specifically for the Department of Health.
Does this include external users?
So no, this would be internal users.
Okay. Yeah. Issue.
All right. I'm going to hit cancel there. So those are two key steps as this is being built out and operationalized. Now, still playing the central IT admin, one of the points I want to emphasize is you don't lose visibility. You don't lose control. You're still an organizational admin. Some of the things that you can do within the Purview portal, if I go to information protection and then explorers and activity explorer, I can still see all activities that are related to the different agencies, anything that's going on within this tenant that's related to DLP, when files that have sensitivity labels are being changed. All of this is recorded right here. And I can even filter by scope. And this is going to let me say I want to see what's going on with DOH. What kind of changes are specifically being made, or what kind of DLP rule matches for DOH. I can still do that. And this is only going to restrict my view to what kind of activity for DOH. Now, if DOH already has permission to create DLP policies, sensitivity label policies, I still have visibility over there too. I'm going to go over to the policies here. And if I click on publishing policies, I see as an admin, tenant admin, I see all of the policies for the different agencies that have been created for information protection. If I go over to data loss prevention, I also see policies that different agencies have created. I still have oversight. I still have visibility, except I'm not doing the work. I just have that visibility. Same thing for insider risk management. I can see what's going on there. I really don't have to even dig too deep into this solution. I could just see what kind of policies are created, if there's any alerts that need actions, alerts that have been confirmed. That's all still within my scope of visibility. Now, the last thing I'll highlight is the audit solution. This is This is the solution that's recording all related Office 365 events. I can still see everything, do a search. I can even, within this solution, filter by admin unit. So I don't lose anything. Just a lot of work and less burden. So with that, those are just a few of the things that we wanted to show you from the central IT admin perspective. And with that, I'll hand it over to Sergio, who's going to dive deeper in as a agency admin.
Thank you,
Take it
Leo.
away, Sergio.
All right. And let me know, Leo, can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
All right. So yeah, just to kind of pick up where Leo left off, you know, Leo being that central IT division of the tenant who has that visibility to see what's going on with data security using Microsoft Purview, and the delegation from admin unit down to role access of the admin units, down to the different tools like information protection, DLP, insider risk, communication compliance, and so on. So I'm going to be taking the vantage point of the DOH Purview administrator. So I've been delegated rights here to work within Microsoft Purview and to work with the users in my agency that are in the admin unit. So we're going to start off by taking a look at our information protection. And like most tools in Microsoft Purview, you'll open up to a nice overview page where you can see your setup tasks, recommendations if some are available, reports, sensitivity labeled coverage, and so on. What we're interested in is our policies. You know, what's published to the DOH. And in a moment when this shows up on our screen, you'll see the visibility that I have as the DOH administrator, where Central IT had visibility to different published label policies. I only have visibility into my admin unit. So if we want to take a quick look, you'll see we have our name, description, which label I'm publishing, and to where. It's going to be the DOH admin unit. We'll do a quick edit here. You can see the one label that I'm publishing under confidential. You'll see that it is scoped to the DOH. Now the difference that you see here that's different from Leo's is I only have the DOH visibility. So if you're wondering, well, what if I don't, check the box? Will it scope to everyone? Well, if I remove that and try to press next, you'll see that it fails to continue. So even though you're scoped to your one admin unit as a delegated administrator for your agency, you would still need to check your box in order to go forward and publish out your label policy. And like other label policies, you configure your settings. The user is going to have to provide a justification to remove. You have the ability to apply default labels for your agencies. So for example, all documents, if you wanted to have all new documents created labeled with one of the information protection labels you've created, this one's confidential, but maybe you have a general DOH. You have the same capabilities to publish only to your agency. Same for default labels with emails, your meeting calendars and events, and if you're working with Fabric, Power BI content. So let's look over at the DLP data loss prevention from the DOH admin. So again, nice overview page. I can see activities that relate to my agency, recommendations, and so on. I can see there's a few incidences. We'll take a look at the policies for DLP. Here I have the DOH endpoint DLP policy. And if we take a look, we'll get our details here. Again, scope to the DOH admin unit. And we will take a look inside this policy. Quick description, endpoint DLP applied to DOH only. We are scoped to our admin unit. Here you can see we are scoped to the endpoint DLP. And if there is a location that is not supported by the admin unit, like the SharePoint site, it will highlight in gray. Here is your DOH rule, or the rule that I have in place. So we'll take a look at what we're looking to protect on the endpoint. So here are our conditions. In our conditions, we're looking to match on files that have the sensitivity label confidential DOH. So when that condition is met, these are the actions we're taking. We'll be blocking the upload to unrestricted cloud service domains, preventing the paste to unsupported browsers. We'll be blocking copy to USB and so on. Things that you would expect to see in an endpoint DLP rule. Your notifications, customized policy tip for our DOH, and so on. So I'll just hit cancel here, press next. I do have this turned on with the policy immediately, but like those who are starting to work more with DLP, you still have the option to run it in simulation mode for your agency as you continue to monitor your roles. All right, and then if we look at the alerts, in our DLP alerts, I'll have visibility into the alerts that are related to my agency. So here I can start looking at the details of an alert. I have an events and a user activity summary to help me summarize some of the activities that's going on. I can see the event, which policy it was matched on, who the user is, more on the event, and then a user activity summary to go with that to help provide some insights into what the user may be up to. You can see that the severity is high. There are some of those summary. And now what I'd like to look at is what it looks like on the end user. What is that end user experience? So this is a virtual machine that is connected to Purview so that it has those policies like endpoint DLP applied to it. So if I open up a document, this one is the DOH. I have it as a sensitive file. I'm going to open this one up, and let's look what some of those labels look like when it's published to an end user in the DOH. So here, if I click on the sensitivity tab, you'll see there's a green check next to confidential, and there's a gray highlight next to confidential DOH. I have, as an end user, labeled this document as confidential DOH.
Is that syncing with OneDrive?
Will it work with OneDrive?
Does it sync with OneDrive? Yes.
Yes. Yes, we can. We certainly can. So just copy that there. It won't let me open up two documents. But what I wanted to show was that those labels, and I'll close the one in the back. It's okay. This is the one we just put into the OneDrive documents. Save it. Stand by. I'll put it in the documents folder and try open that one more time. And just to show that the sensitivity label is applied there and published to the DOH users so that they can apply it. And here you can see the watermark that is there as well. Okay, so I'll close that and let's take a look at what it looks like from the endpoint DLP policy that we created. So I'll open up a browser and I will open up a test Gmail account. This is the IS Purview Gmail. And we'll compose a new email here. And what we'll do is we will go and grab that DOH sensitivity file and we will try to upload it. And here you can see there's that DLP rule where we set our conditions to look for the DOH labeled document and prevent it from going to unapproved repositories. Now, this won't prevent a person from signing into their personal Gmail if that's allowed at your agency, and then putting in like a general file or replying something back to, something else that's personal and they're using their Gmail, right? It's just protecting the sensitive information for that agency at this time. Same thing for things like ChatGPT. So when we look at some of these documents, this one is our OneDrive. I'll just grab this guy. If I wanted to drop it over here, you can see that the DLP is preventing that drag and drop. Okay. Same thing with like unapproved repositories like Dropbox. If we wanted to do a drag and drop here, you can see it's also protected because it is looking for that information protection label specific for the DOH and protecting that sensitive information. So that's what it looks like on the endpoint. This, you set for what condition you're looking for and how you would like it to respond on the action side. So things like copy paste or copy into a USB or to an SMB share and so on. Testing here for the Gmail is when an end user is working on an endpoint that they're signed into a personal Gmail and trying to put sensitive information in an unapproved repository. Your Outlook, that is assigned to an end user, so that is like an approved location for sensitive information, but protecting who the recipient is. Okay, and we'll cover a couple more scenarios here at the end. And let's move over to the insider risk. We'll spend a few minutes over here and take a look at this feature. Like Leo mentioned when we started our session, this feature wasn't available a year ago when we were covering admin units with the SLG community. So now that it's supported, we wanted to demonstrate what it looks like for our DOH admins who have been delegated this permission. So again, insider risk management overview of what's related. There's an alert to review for the DOH, a data leak policy, how many users are currently involved. Here we can see some different policies. The DOH is there, but it's not one that we can, or excuse me, the DOT is also there, but the DOH is who we're signed in as. So when we go to look at policies, we'll only see the DOH. And then reports and resources. So let's move. And one thing that I would like to call out also is that the insider risk management is available in commercial. It's been in preview and it is going live next month, November 24, and it is still being rolled out to GCC. Those of you who are in GCC tenants know there are a little bit of delays before feature sets get certified for GCC Cloud. Let's move over to our alerts. And here we can see an alert. We're going to do an initial triage on this one. but I'll just highlight the policies here so that you can see where Central IT can see all the insider risk management policies. The DOH only has visibility into their policy. And again, it is scoped to its corresponding admin unit. So that's what we're looking at here. And we'll be providing some resources from the admin unit webinar as well as the insider risk webinar, where there are more deeper discussions in the settings, how to set those up. This is kind of combining the two and showing some of the features in a more comprehensive build out from a single tenant, central IT, and agencies who are now delegated and working with their own data security. So we're going to move over to the alert. We'll start with an initial triage. Notice the user name is anonymized. That is an option in the settings. So here we'll have our three tabs, the all risk factors, activity explorer, user activity. Here we get a nice breakout that this needs review. And we can see that we're dealing with the risk score of 100 out of 100. We can see the alert was created October 22nd. And some extra details. Each one of these links will open up into a filtered view in the Activity Explorer so that you could see, for example, files that have labels applied, including the confidential internal and so on. And then you'll see like the top exfiltration activities, if there's any cumulative, there are a couple sequence activities, some priority content that the policy is looking for is 48 activities that align with that, and different top labels, top sensitive information, and so on. So we can look at the Activity Explorer and make that just a little bit smaller there. And here you can, again, see all those different links, but now you can start seeing the activity starting with, the obfuscation of files added, the date, and you can start getting the story of what's going on. Again, each one of these links breaking out into a filtered view over here on the right. So here you can see some deleted deletion of files in SharePoint. Notice the risk score 15 out of 100. Other activities, some will be higher risk score, like this collection of files downloaded from SharePoint. It's giving it a risk of 75. You can see there's 300 events. So again, this is kind of that initial triage to verify if we're going to go from triage to creating a case. Now, when we look at the user activity, again, we get our story on the left there, and then we get the user activity scatter plot. And let me scroll this down just a bit. So you have a couple different views. I'll put it on a 1 month view. And you'll see these color-coded activities and where they're aligning here across this plot. So you can see there's been some activity starting in October 6th. But this dashed line right here is the triggering event that triggered the insider risk management. And you can see these risk scores. I should just make it just a bit bigger there. Starting from 0 up to 100. And these up here in the 80s and the 75s are those higher risk scores. When I created the IRM policy, even though the triggering events occurred here around October 20th, you can see that back in October 6th, there were other high-risk activities that are detected, and now we have visibility to investigate. It's just this is a new policy that got actioned. So from an agency side, when an IRM policy goes in, when the triggering event occurs, it can also look back to other events before the event. And as we're continuing to monitor, we can see future events as they come. So I think based on this activity, we will confirm these alerts. We will create a case. We'll call it the IRM DOH. We'll put the date. And we will go from an initial triage to confirming this as a case. Those three tabs, your risk factors, activity explorer, user activity, will move over to the case so that you can continue to have that visibility. And here you'll see the case is created. You can open the case to investigate and take actions. A new Microsoft team was created so that we can collaborate and do some collaboration on that case. So we'll move over and open up the case. It'll look similar to our initial triage. We'll have a few more options to choose. We do have these two buttons here at the top when we're ready to resolve the case, as well as some case actions. We'll look at that in just a moment. But now you'll get the case overview and the corresponding insights. Again, you can see the alerts. If more alerts trigger, you will see those if they align. The user activity, this is going to look very similar to what we saw during our investigation. Same with our activity explorer. When we're clicking on links, like the obfuscation files added to an archive on a device, when you click these links, it will filter in on those events on your activity explorer so that you can look at the details as you're doing your investigation. Okay. And there is a Content Explorer view. If you have permission for Content Explorer, for those who work with Content Explorer, that gives you the ability to view documents and files. It is a role-based access permission that you would need access to in order to have that type of visibility. And then case notes. You can add case notes as you're working the case. You can see 2 minutes ago, it was confirmed this case was created. On our case actions, you have the ability to send an email notice. If you have any email templates, like here is a warning email. So if your IRM has those email templates, like in this case, this would be a warning, attention to the user, insider risk detection determined there was unusual amount of activity in a short period of time, and just a little bit, if this is something that's somewhat benign and you're just going to send an email notice to the end user. Okay, and you can create multiple templates if you want to correspond with the end user. You also have the ability to escalate for an investigation. When you escalate for an investigation, this will create an e-discovery case. This will put a user on legal hold, and you can then start doing deeper investigations using e-discovery. And again, use some collaboration with your e-discovery. If you're working with Power Automate workflows, you have that ability as well. You can share the case in an email or copy the link. You can view the Microsoft team that's created, and you can manage the pseudonymize of the users' names. So as you continue to work the case and gather extra information, this will be the area where the DOH admin will do that case investigation. And when it's time to resolve the case, they can resolve it as benign. Maybe just put, sent the user a warning email, close it, or you can confirm there was a policy violation, and maybe your case action was escalated to an e-discovery case for further investigation. So this is an example of how we would use the insider risk management from a delegated permissioning using Microsoft Purview tools to help improve our data security posture. And like Leo was describing, this is really aligned to a lot of our customers in the SLG vertical who share tenants. Central IT is usually not the data owner of those different agencies. And agencies, when I speak with them, and I'm sure when Leo speaks with them as well, they want to find ways of how they can manage the data within their agency. So this doesn't put more work on central IT. What it does is it gives central IT the ability to extend out to those agencies the delegation they need to start working on their data security today. So I will pause there. Leo, do you know if Barry joined us?
Yeah, Barry's here, and I'll go ahead and share the
I am
slides.
here.
He was going to
Hey,
discuss.
Barry.
Yeah, I am here.
Okay.
Apologize. Sergio, if you can go to the
Yeah,
licensing slide, I can pick up that slide. Thank you. So good morning, everybody. So I'm just going to cover this slide and then turn it back over to Sergio. But if you are, a G3 customer, you're otherwise wondering how you, what licenses come with or you need for admin units. The answer is, first and foremost, you need Enter ID P1 or P2, formerly known as Azure AD P1 or P2. And then you then can take advantage of admin units with one of really three of our license stacks. One is G5 or E5. Most of our government customers are G5 versus E5. And the other one is a stack of products, three licenses that we refer to as G5 compliance that Sergio and Leo kind of focused on today. And then there is a single license within G5 compliance, one of the three, which is referred to as G5 information protection and governance. So any one of those three bundles for the single license, which is G5 information protection and governance, would allow you to take advantage of admin units. Okay. If you have any questions, what we will also share is an email thread or an email alias that will take you to our team, and you can certainly ask questions then as well after this webinar. Okay, Sergio, so back to you. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. All right, let me share my screen here. All right, so how to get started with Microsoft Purview. And we're going to save a few minutes here for questions. We're just going to wrap this up since we're recording. So one, you can work with the Microsoft funded partner-led workshops on your data security, data governance. If you are unified and you have that unified support contract, there are workshops that can also help you align your security and compliance. We do have fast track assistance for our customers where you can work with dedicated SMEs that can provide guidance. And also, I work in the Texas and central regions. Reach out to your SLG compliance specialist if you want to go through deeper dives and have some live demonstrations. There is an email there. We will be sharing these resources. When Leo was talking earlier about the admin unit, let me bring that back. The admin unit article, it's an article that Leo and one of our colleagues, BB, wrote that talks about these challenges of the shared tenant, which, spurred the initial admin unit webinar onto this one. So we do have a copy of the webinar on the YouTube channel. And then the IRM webinar, where it goes into discussing insider risk management, looking at the properties, indicators, and so on. There are a few other technical resources from our Microsoft Learn. The recording is available on the Community Teams channel. Join us next month. We will be looking at Secure by Default with Microsoft Purview and Protect from Oversharing using the Purview deployment blueprints. So a lot of customers ask, well, how do I get started? I want to get my information protection and DLP. Which one do I start with? Well, the blueprints will help answer those questions, show how things can be aligned in multiple work streams to, really help our customers take flight. So with that, Leo, I think we can stop the recording and we can take some questions.